The Cooper family finally admitted what they had done to Missy, but only after she disappeared. Season 6, Episode 16. George's truck is gone. Missy's bedroom is empty. A police officer asks the family when they last saw their 13-year-old daughter. George can't give him a straight answer. Too much was happening. Mary hadn't been sleeping at home. Georgie had a newborn baby. Sheldon was buried inside another crisis that somehow required the attention of every adult within shouting distance. Missy stole a truck, drove toward Louisiana, and nobody noticed, because everybody assumed her silence was normal. Then Georgie says the sentence that exposes the entire family. She does get ignored around here. But the worst part comes at the end. Adult Sheldon doesn't call it the moment his family realized they had neglected Missy. He calls it Missy's difficult period. No, that wasn't Missy becoming difficult. That was the invisible child finally becoming impossible to ignore. There's a name for the pattern surrounding Missy: glass child. It's an informal term for a child whose needs are repeatedly looked through because another sibling requires more attention. It isn't a diagnosis, and Sheldon isn't being diagnosed with anything here. It's a family role. One child becomes the emergency. The other becomes the child who can handle herself. Missy tells us she has already been given that role in Season 2, Episode 5. Sheldon and Missy are taken to Houston for a twin study. Everybody expects the researchers to confirm what the Cooper family already believes. Sheldon is exceptional. Missy is average. But the test humiliates that assumption. Sheldon can solve academic problems, but he cannot interpret the emotions inside a simple picture. Missy immediately notices sadness, secrets, attraction, jealousy, body language, things Sheldon cannot see. The researcher tells Missy she is perceptive. Missy explains why. George and Georgie have football. Mary and Meemaw spend their time fussing over Sheldon. The researcher asks who is on Missy's team. Missy answers, "It's just me." She is 9 years old. 9. Mary hears that confession, feels guilty, and lets Missy choose Red Lobster for dinner. It looks like the problem has been fixed. But look closer. Missy exposed years of loneliness, and the family answered with seafood. That is the trap of the glass child. Adults notice the pain for one evening, perform one loving gesture, then return to the child who makes more noise. But Missy wasn't quiet because she needed less. She was quiet because she had learned nobody was coming. There were moments when someone almost changed that. Season 3, Episode 6. Missy discovers she has a terrifyingly good throwing arm and tells George she wants to play baseball. George hesitates because she would be the only girl, but he still takes her to the tryout. The coach refuses to let her play. George argues. The coach refuses again. Then Meemaw arrives, threatens the coach into giving Missy a chance, and Missy throws a strike. She makes the team. For one afternoon, Missy has people fighting for her. Remember that, because George becomes the closest thing Missy has to a teammate, and losing him later does more damage than the show ever says out loud. But first, Season 4, Episode 1 gives Missy something even rarer: recognition. Sheldon is graduating from high school, while Missy is graduating from elementary school. Mary insists they are equally proud of both children. Then the local news arrives. For Sheldon, Missy tells the reporter, "I'm graduating also." The reporter asks whether she is graduating from high school. Missy says elementary school. Oh, that's it. She disappears from the story again. But then Sheldon does something nobody expects. During his valedictorian speech, he publicly credits Missy for giving him the courage to attend college. "Missy, this is for you." He repeats her advice. "I guess be scared and do it anyway." For once, Sheldon sees her. Not as his annoying sister. Not as the average twin, as the brave one. And that scene proves something ugly. Missy was never impossible to understand. Someone just had to stop talking long enough to look at her. That moment doesn't last. Season 4, Episode 18. Missy is devastated after Marcus breaks her heart. George walks into her bedroom believing he understands their special father-daughter connection. He doesn't listen. He tells her she will find another boyfriend. He treats the pain like something childish. When Missy asks whether her feelings matter, George offers ice cream. Then Sheldon enters the room after Missy explicitly tells everyone to leave her alone. He criticizes her, insults her, refuses to respect the boundary because it is also his bedroom. Missy finally snaps and tears his Professor Proton picture. Mary walks in, sees Sheldon's damaged possession, and immediately orders Missy to apologize. She doesn't ask what happened. She doesn't ask why Missy is crying. She sees Sheldon's pain because Sheldon's pain has physical evidence. Missy's pain is invisible. "Why do you always take his side?" Missy asks. Mary denies it. "Everybody does. I hate this family." And Missy gets grounded. That is what happens when a glass child stops being convenient. The family that praised her for being independent suddenly punishes her for having emotions they cannot manage. Subscribe to Cooper Untold, because this family buried more evidence inside 7 seasons than most dramas manage in 20. Now we get to the scene that should make every Missy fan furious. Season 6, Episode 15. Mandy goes into labor. The entire family rushes toward the baby. Nobody picks Missy up from school. She waits for an hour. Then she walks home alone. When George finally speaks to her, she says, "You forgot me." His answer? There was a lot going on. Sheldon immediately interrupts because his database failed. There is no laugh track to blame here. Strip away the jokes and watch what is actually happening. A 13-year-old girl was abandoned at school. Her twins' failed computer project still enters the conversation before her fear does. The next morning, Missy makes George's lunch and leaves him a note. "Try not forgetting your daughter today." Then she adds, "That's my name, in case you forgot." Funny line. Horrifying scene. But even that isn't the explosion. Later, Missy confronts Mary and George while they are fighting. They accuse her of creating drama over one forgotten pickup. Missy finally says what the twin study told us 4 seasons earlier. "You've been forgetting me my entire life." She points to Sheldon. Georgie's baby, her parents' marriage problems. Might as well be invisible. Then the family yells at her for yelling. Think about that. Missy tells them she feels unseen, so both parents become united for the first time in days to punish how she said it. She runs away the next episode. On the road, Paige asks whether Missy's parents know she is gone. "They barely know when I'm there." Missy isn't guessing. She tested it. She left her bedroom, stole George's truck, drove for hours, picked up Paige, bought gasoline, ate breakfast, and crossed into Louisiana before anybody realized the quiet girl was no longer inside the house. When the family finally finds her, George and Mary promise they will be laser-focused on her from now on. But listen to what that teaches Missy. Being good made her invisible. Being sad made her dramatic. Stealing a truck made her important. And that's bad enough on its own. But then George dies. Season 7, Episode 13. Mary throws herself into religion. Georgie starts trying to replace his father. Sheldon retreats into alternate realities and imagined conversations. Missy lashes out. When Georgie tries to take control, she tells him, "You're not Dad. You don't tell us what to do." At George's casket, Missy doesn't deliver a perfect speech. She looks at the man who taught her baseball, fought for her, failed to understand her, then kept trying anyway. "You really didn't want to take that family portrait, did you?" Then she says, "See you later," and breaks. During the funeral, Sheldon receives an entire imagined eulogy. Adult Sheldon explains his regret, his love, and everything he wishes he had said. Missy remains silent. Even the memoir about their childhood still translates Sheldon's grief, while leaving Missy's trapped inside her body. Then the Big Bang Theory makes the pattern crueler. In Season 1, Episode 4, Mary describes her 2 other children as dumb as soup. But young Sheldon proved Missy was the person in that family who could read emotions nobody else noticed. Years later, in The Big Bang Theory Season 11, Episode 24, Missy arrives pregnant and separated from her husband. Mary dismisses her reactions as pregnancy hormones before Missy bluntly says, "We're separated." That doesn't prove Missy failed. It proves the family never updated the story they told about her. Sheldon was the genius. Georgie was the screw-up. Missy was the difficult one. The labels survived even when the evidence didn't. Missy Cooper wasn't broken because she lacked intelligence, courage, or love. She had more emotional intelligence than Sheldon, more nerve than most adults around her, and enough loyalty to keep protecting people who barely noticed she needed protection too. What broke was her belief that she could ask quietly and still be heard. So tell me the scene where you first realized Missy wasn't difficult. She was disappearing. Because the Coopers didn't break Missy by making her weak. They broke her by teaching her that the only way to be seen